friend. Okay, so full disclosure, I just recorded like 30 minutes of a podcast episode and then got so worked up. So if you are watching the YouTube video in hives, it's because I got worked up. I was talking about my story, how I started my virtual assistant journey, and it just got too real. We got a little too down the real train, and I'm not quite ready to share all those things. So I'm re-recording it. No, one day I will, but like, I got so vulnerable and it got me in my feels. We're gonna reel back in, give the story, give the real version of me, but maybe not cry this time. I don't know. We'll see. TBD. Hi. Okay, so if you're brand new here, my name is Sarah, and I help women discover how to start and grow a virtual assistant business so that they can work from home, making money when it works for them so they can spend more time with their family. Okay, so if you're a person who wants to know how to make money from home doing virtual assistant work, which is just a fancy word for secretary work for people that have businesses online, then you're going to probably really like this episode. Okay. Cliff Note version, so that I don't cry again, is in 2021, December 2021, I was hired to be a virtual assistant for a woman who has a well-known podcast and sells online courses and is a coach for women who want to have online businesses, okay? And I was hired with no experience. So if you have ever heard me talking about being a virtual assistant and you're like, I don't have any skills, I hear you. I was you before I was hired for that job. I remember crying to my husband after closing down my daycare and saying, who's going to hire me? I have no skills. He's like, Sarah, you ran a business for 7 years. I'm like, I know, but it doesn't count because it doesn't count. Do you ever have that thing where you're like, I don't see where I'm good at anything? I don't see it. I'm really good at doing that. I don't know if you're like that too. I'm really good at not seeing things that I'm good at. He was like, you're crazy. Like you ran a business for years. Why do you think that you wouldn't be a asset to a company? I don't know. I just didn't think it would. She hires me as a virtual assistant anyway, because I had the skills and anybody has the skills to do this job. I can tell you that right now. Anyone has the skills to do this job because there are so many iterations of this job. There are so many ways that you can do this job by taking skills that you already have. Okay, it's incredible. Okay. But before I was hired, we were selling personal belongings to make ends meet. Like our prized possession, that was our camper, that was like literally my pride and joy. And to this day, one of my biggest regrets. Like I should have bigger ones, like dropping out of college or like getting into a mountain of debt. No, selling that camper is above that. I'm telling you that it was my prized possession. Like I was like, can we just sell the house and live in the camper? I loved it. I loved the traveling. I loved everything about it. Anyway, that's another story for another day. We needed money, but I did not want to sacrifice being home with my kids. I had an in-home daycare to stay home with them, and I was not going to sacrifice that. Like it meant so freaking much to me. Finding VA work was like literally the answer to my prayers. I worked VA skills as an employee for about 2 years. It was actually 2 years by the time the contract fully dissolved and we no longer worked together at all. But about a year and a half of that was as an employee, and the last 6 months was as a contractor, where she came into my agency and hired my virtual assistant agency to do work for her. Like we still worked together for 2 years. But what ended up happening, I'm trying to keep this like really a very long story very short. I worked with her for a long time and then saw that if I had multiple people that I was working for, I could make a lot more money. I was making a $50,000 a year salary for her, which for my husband and I, who had gone from like selling our belongings on a Friday to that Monday, me making $50,000. That was insane. And it was the biggest blessing at the time. But I still was so unhappy. Like I knew I wanted to do my own thing. And I don't know if you've ever been in like a really good job, or not even a really good job, just like a decent job where you're like, okay, the security is a little bit more cushy, or it pulls me a little more to stay because I need the security. We had so much uncertainty for a couple of years. That salary was like so important. So important, it was more than my mental health. And I had done that with the daycare too. Like I had done this thing where money was more important than my mental health. And I didn't start an agency and go out on my own until I knew that I had a client that was going to be high paying to make up the difference. Because I didn't want to have that scenario anymore. I didn't want to be an employee. I didn't like the way things were going, but if I didn't have anything to supplement it, I was putting my family back in jeopardy is what it felt like. And I don't know if you've ever been here where you're like, if I leave my job, if I do what my heart wants to do, if I become a stay-at-home mom, if I downgrade to a better job or to a job that has a better schedule or is more suited to make me happy, I'm letting my family down. I've felt that way before. It sucks, doesn't it? To feel like I'm letting somebody down if I do what's going to make me happy. So I had created this whole plan and found a client that would cover the cost of what I was going to lose out on. And I went for it. I quit my job and she actually ended up coming with me to the agency. Like I said, I very quickly built a bigger clientele. And before I knew it, from April 2022 to December 2022, that business made $87,000. So $37,000, a whole minimum wage salary more than I was making with that quote unquote secure job. Now, I did not make all of that. That's another episode for another day. But my business made that. And I think that that's pretty freaking cool. It was a very exciting time in my life. Now, I will tell you that since then, the agency does not look anything like it used to, and it's actually not even an agency anymore. It's just me back down to doing virtual assistant work because my heart has really changed directions, and I really just want to help people just like you learn about this opportunity, and then maybe you can go out and start an agency when you get so many clients that you have to hire your best friend and your sister-in-law and your cousin because that's what I did to help you with all the work because like that's what you need. It was so exciting. It was such an exciting time. Like I said, it's since then gone back to just me. But that's okay because I think that's the journey that I'm supposed to be on, to be able to help people like you more learn about the experience if I have less to deal with and less overhead and more of just getting to focus on just the little things that are going to like make me be able to help you. Okay. So now I'm going to explain like what you do as a virtual assistant, and then we're going to end this episode because I feel like it's all over the place. And I don't think I've recovered from that really emotional one that I recorded, and my son wants to show me something and I feel really guilty being down here because that's what it's like to work from home. You have to do all the things at one time and then you end up feeling like okay, let me tell you this. If you work outside the home in an office and you feel very guilty whenever you get home that you have to fold laundry and that you have to do work and that you have to do X, Y, and Z and all these things and you're not spending enough time with your kids, even when you work from home, you're going to feel that way. I think it's just like default programming as a mom. So I will tell you that even though I want you to work as a virtual assistant and even though I want you to replace your 9-to-5 completely or even just make an extra $300 to $500 a month, you still gonna feel like the mom guilt. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. Okay. So what I did to make that $87,000 in my business, it still makes me laugh. Actually, I did the math, and in the past 2 years, that agency brought in, the Pains did not make this much money, but Savvy Simple Systems made $198,000 since it opened in April of 2023. So 2024 now. So 2023 to 2024 to this day, $198,000. So almost $200,000. That's insane. That's insane. It's very cool. So please do not tell me that you cannot earn $300 to $500 a month as a virtual assistant, because you, without a shadow of a doubt, can. Okay, like without even blinking twice, I know that you can. Okay, so here's the really cool thing about virtual assistant work. You take a skill that you're already naturally good at. Okay, so let's say I don't know why today, online boutiques, like a clothing boutique is just like the example that comes to me so deeply today. Okay, so let's say you have an online clothing boutique, or not you, but somebody has one, and they love sourcing the clothes. So they love finding the clothes, but all the other parts of the business, they hate the bookkeeping, they hate the customer service emails, they hate like what it's like to put together reels. They just want to do the thing that made them want to start that business in the first place. And then what a virtual assistant does is they come in and they help the business owner with the parts of their business they don't want to do anymore. So let's example customer service emails. Okay. They will teach somebody how to respond to, like they would to their emails, how to do refunds, how to do X, Y, and Z, how they respond, how the brand responds. And then they hire a virtual assistant to do that. And they'll pay anywhere from like $9 and beyond. Okay. The cool thing about being a virtual assistant is that you're not an employee, like you're what they call a freelancer. So you find clients yourself and you make your hours, you make your pay, you make all the decisions, and then somebody will either hire you or they won't. And so I think that's the really cool part, is that like you can decide, okay, if I'm doing customer service, I'm going to ask for $15 an hour. If I'm working on a website, I'm going to ask for $30. Like I personally charged $2,000 to make somebody like a website type scenario. I'm not going to get too much into details for that, but people that create courses, I charged $2,000 to do like the whole thing for them. But I had to get from the point of answering customer service emails to get to where I'm at today. But that's the cool thing, is once you get your foot in the door with like something that you naturally understand how to do, then you can really take yourself from point A to point B very quickly, because you can say, oh, I'm really good at this. I can find these types of clients. And then once what kind of client you want to work with, you just ask yourself, where does that type of client hang out? And then you find them. And then they just happen. It's a very cool thing. And I actually do have a course that will teach you how to go from point A to point B and finding clients and growing. And it's so fun. But what's so cool is, I've touched on it, like you create your schedule, you create how much you get paid, you create every single aspect of being a virtual assistant, and you don't have to have a college degree or even any credentials. Like truly, you just need to know what your strengths are and be willing to say, I'm good at that. And if you're not, don't take the job, okay? If you're not an organized person, do not take a job where people want you organizing their Google Drive. That's not for you if you're not an organized person. So you like take your strengths as a person and then you turn them into a skill, and then you basically sell that skill set to somebody who owns a business. So a lot of times people will say to me, the amount of people that say, I'm not gonna pay to get a job because they don't want to pay to have the course to learn how. It's okay, that's fine. But how much in student debt do you have? Like, you've paid to learn a skill so you can get a job before. The only time that you don't is if you have a job where they train you on site, because you don't have to have a degree. Like I'm thinking of, I don't know, like insurance companies maybe. Like you don't have to have a degree like to work for an insurance company. I think you have to have, like I know my best friend works at she processes claims for insurance companies and she doesn't have a degree. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. You just take what you're good at. And if you don't want to learn, then actually you can learn. You can Google it. You can fall into a job like I did. You can have all sorts of things happen. But I guarantee you can probably think of one business owner in your life that you could reach out to and say, hey, do you need any help behind the scenes? I'm really good at X, Y, or Z. And see what they say. If they say no, okay, no problem. But if they say yes, you just landed yourself a job. Or if you want to go through my course, you can, and you can learn how to become a virtual assistant, how to set up your businesses, how to do your contracts, how to have all of it at your fingertips so that you can grow your business. And I think that's really cool. Anyway, I was so rusty on doing this. I'm so in my head from the episode before. Hopefully you're still around listening to this part. I'll get better, I promise. It's the beauty of us only being like 30 episodes in. Nobody expects me to be great at this. Okay, I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing day. Oh my gosh, what a train wreck. I'm going to post it anyway. I love you. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.